Yahweh.
Aloha. Welcome to BearsWave.com podcast. Coming to you from Bears 25th floor surf shack, overlooking Waikiki Beach. So wax up your surfboards, everybody. We're paddling out for another great talk story podcast. We got the coolest guy in Hawaii with us today, Gary Kewley. Aloha, Gary. And we got Shane Woznick.
Hey everybody, how's it going?
We're going to have a blast. We got Gary from Surf News Network, who, as we always say, is one of our sponsors.
That's right. I pay big bucks to be here, Bear.
No, Gary's been so good to us because he's always advertising our contests or our book or whatever.
Well, the big promo on your book is coming. I cannot wait to get my own copy.
Yeah, well, guess what? We got a galley copy, right?
What?
This is like with all the errors in it. They print this galley copy out. See how it says not for sale? And this is the paperback, but it's not going to be in paperback. It's only hardbound right now. But I mean, that's the first feel of the book.
That's
I got it just a few days ago.
Sick. I cannot wait. Oh, I
see all these marks here?
No, I didn't know they did this.
It's called a galley copy. It's cool, huh?
Yeah. Well, I would take a signed galley copy, but
you don't get one. It's just got all kind of errors. I mean, it doesn't have all about the author stuff and things like that. But see all these little scratchy things in here?
Yeah.
We got to go over to the same studio where they did Lilo and Stitch.
Yeah.
Music, and I read the book yesterday, which was 7 hours, and all these little scratches written in here where I made errors, and Shane's got to go in there and edit them out. So.
Oh, you're doing that too, Shane?
Yeah, it's like
Jeez.
6 hours of.
Oh, that is one quality son. You did a good job there, Bear.
Good DNA. But you know what? So, every podcast we say for those people in Estonia, or Detroit, or Nebraska, or somewhere in Milan, Italy, or Sweden, who's listening to our podcast, because it's on iTunes, so people can download it for free, right? They can download it to their laptop or to their iPod, so when they're on the airplane or when they're in the gym, they can listen to it. They can take it with them, and they can listen. They can stream it on YouTube, or they can even subscribe on iTunes, so that when we release the new podcast, the people that subscribe get it about 24 hours earlier than everybody else.
Oh, that's cool.
It's kind of the benefit of subscribing. And so, but we always tell them, if you want to see what we're looking at, go to surfnewsnetwork.com.
Yeah, I'll take all the promo I can get.
And look at the Waikiki webcam.
It's funny because that's the business I'm in, is to promo, is to market. And those cameras are a great tool. And your setup here is just, I mean, this is the sweetest setup.
It's cool for me to have one of your cameras in my house.
Oh, bro, it's an honor. It's a privilege. And it's just, when I look at that little camera, it's going, that's where Bear lives. Can I say Bear, that dog? But I can't say that because you're a bear.
Hey, don't you think Gary has a sexy radio voice?
Yeah, he's got a good voice for radio.
Yeah,
for sure.
Yeah. Do you do some radio?
I've been doing surf reports.
Tell me. Well, yeah.
Gee, ready for this? Okay. 1980, early 80s, dude. It's been 30 years that I've been putting them out. I put them out. My first surf report, I have it recorded. It was on K-Poi, which was rock.
We want to have that.
Oh,
next time.
I got to go find it. It's on like tape, literal tape.
Yeah.
I mean, 30 years ago, people don't realize it was a whole different world. Everything, the digital revolution had yet to really occur.
The microphone I used yesterday was so cool. It was a Neumann, so it's one of those classic, really great German microphones. But it was a 1972 microphone that they had updated. But it was so good that they didn't want to mess with it. So everyone, we're glad to have our sponsor Gary Kewley from surfnewsnetwork.com, and we got to talk. You know what I want to talk about today? I want to talk about this.
Yeah, I was wondering.
Schick isn't really one of our sponsors, but they sponsor Clean Break. You know about Clean Break?
No.
Oh,
let's hear it.
I got to be on some of their episodes. About 4 years ago, I was out in Hollywood, and we've had 3 different groups of people approach us about reality shows, and each time I've kind of said no, because right when we get right down to it, they want petty drama. And believe me, with tandem surfing, we can deliver it. But I didn't want to go that way. But I met with Peter Isaacson, a producer out in California, and I said, I want to bring out people from Do we need to cut down on the trade winds, Shane?
Or close
That
the
window?
windows?
Yeah, I think we do.
That back window's really good.
Yeah. Can you do it?
Yeah.
You'll be able to
Okay.
pick that up.
Yeah, we can pick up the trade winds. So everybody, sorry it sounds.
But
a
no,
little
but that's atmosphere.
That's better, and maybe that window too, Shane.
But then crank
Yeah, now we
up
go.
the air.
Yeah. No, we don't get to. You gotta go. Look at
I mean, just to give you.
That's why we left it open.
there
you
we
go.
go. Now we
Oh,
got
I
the
love
quality.
it. This is
okay.
loose.
Okay, so the thing about it is, I told them what I want to do is real drama, not petty drama. I want to bring some people out from California, or wherever, and put them in harm's way. I want to get them out of their comfort zone. My idea was like a Orange County lawyer, or maybe older guy with his son, or whatever, and get them out here and teach them surfing, teach them some ninja skills, take them skydiving, but get them out of their comfort zone as an opportunity for them to look inside and kind of recreate. Vacation is recreation, right? So I had this idea. I wanted to do this, and I even developed a website called SurfQuest, which we never really used. But I talked to Peter about that, and then about 3 months ago, he said, hey, we're coming out. We got 3 young guys, and we're bringing them out, and we're calling it Clean Break. Because each of these guys are like in their late 20s or early 30s.
Yeah.
And they're in a place in their life where they kind of got to decide, because the trajectory of their life is about to get locked in, and what is it they really want. And each of them kind of needed like a clean break. One of them was a former Hollywood stunt guy who his girlfriend, whom he loves, they have a baby, and he became the stay-at-home father. And now they're thinking, do we want another baby, or do we want to, or do I want to go back and be a stuntman again? And so he's got this time in his life. And then we have Aaron Rodgers' brother, Luke Rodgers, from the Super Bowl MVP, his brother, who is older than Aaron and has a master's degree in something. And
Was that Steve?
That was Luke.
Oh,
and so
Luke,
he's
yeah.
trying to figure out what does he really want. And then we had Steve too,
Yeah.
who is Steve is really successful pharmaceutical salesman, but does he want to do that? And they're all surfers. So we took them out here, and we got the best watermen in the world. We had Kimo Miranda and Archie Kalepa and just everybody. And we took them. We just in 2 weeks' time. They did everything that you and I want to do in the next 10 years. I mean, they rode mountain bikes down from Haleakala all the way down. They were doing ATVs. They spearfished with the world champion spearfisher, and I forget her name, on the west side. They rappelled. They learned from Crazy Todd how to climb up a coconut tree, and I was kind of like their big kahuna. I kind of met with them at the beginning, and then I kind of met with them at the end, right? And kind of harvested, because I told them at the beginning, this isn't about going alpha male. You're not going to make it through this week. You're going to have a time when you just break down. And so that's at that
Wow.
point.
So it was that intense.
That's where you're
Really?
going to, yeah, then they all did. And that's where you're going to have your breakthrough. And that's where you're going to really, it's kind of like you can change yourself from the outside in. When you do things, physical challenges
Oh,
like
absolutely.
that, especially things that involve endurance or getting outside your comfort zone.
Absolutely.
It cracks open, like when Todd took the coconut and cracked it open. It kind of gets to that soft.
That's a good.
And men have trouble getting inside that soft inner
Yeah.
core. But anyway, guess who their sponsor is? It's Schick. And what's so funny about it is,
Huh.
I mean, this sounds strange, but 3 months ago, I decided I was going to research and find the best shaver that there was. Okay.
The Schick
well,
Hydro.
So what I did.
What is that?
Yeah. So what I did is I decided I wanted to use the Schick.
3 speeds.
Yeah, you can. I wanted to use the Schick Hydro, and guess what? I ordered it, and they said you can't even order it. It's not. It's the best there is, but it's not even available yet. And then Peter comes out and goes, "Here's our sponsor," and he gives me this one with a
So this
battery.
thing actually
So it's like a
vibrates.
razor with 5 blades, but it vibrates, and I mean, my skin is like a baby. I mean, it's so smooth, and so I'm stoked because I wanted. I love this product, and the Hydro. See, that's why they're getting Waterman to be on their team. So anyway, I want to give a shout out to Schick for the Hydro, even though they're not our sponsor.
Oh, that's a little hook, though. I mean,
It's and the clean. I think they're going to have a sweepstakes where people win the sweepstakes and they come out and spend a few days with me, and I can take them and do all kinds of stuff. But Schick is this Schick Hydro with the little battery thing is awesome. And so Clean Break starts on June 13th. It's 6 episodes, and
what channel?
Fuel TV,
Okay, Fuel
Fox,
TV.
and they're going to have also channel on Yahoo. On their Yahoo page, you'll have many episodes there too that are kind of the backstories on like Archie and me and other people. So it's going to be like it's real drama. It's uplifting drama.
Yeah.
It's not petty
Yeah, it's got
most
substance
reality
to
shows.
it.
Yeah. So, and then we got to give a shout out to, you want to talk about Onnit, Shane?
Yeah, we have to give a shout out to onnit.com, ONNIT.com, the makers of Alpha Brain. If you go to the website and type in Bears Wave, you'll get 10% off any supplement from onnit.com. And the first 30 pills, if you don't like it, you can get 100% money back guaranteed if you just try the first 30 pills. And there's also Shroom Tech and Shroom Tech Sport. Or actually, Shroom Tech Immune.
Yeah.
And one Shroom Tech Immune is for boost your immune system, and what it does is it prepares your body for a cold that's not ever gonna come. So
yeah,
it gives you this extra boost for that. And then there's New Mood, which helps you go to sleep. It boosts your serotonin. And then there's what you said.
The
Shroom
sport.
Tech Sport is that helps you out. Go ahead.
We could spend a whole podcast talking about Onnit.com. We got turned on to it. Do you ever listen to podcasts? We listen to the Joe Rogan podcast sometimes.
Yeah.
He's got the craziest.
Yeah,
guests.
he's good. And I just got into it, but I've been listening to news stuff for Reed Zakaria, NPR, but I'm getting more.
Really?
I'm getting more and more into the podcast because what I've been doing, like you, I'll plunk it in. The main incentive for podcasts. Well, technically, there's less ads.
There's no ads. Even these ads don't seem like ads that we're doing, right?
I watch, the cable news, and it's just like, man, in 1 hour they have you listening. They have you listening to ads every 3 minutes.
Yeah, and we I do my beach workouts every day, and I just work out until Joe Rogan is over or my because I love my guests, and I can listen to the same podcast 2 or 3 times because they're so fascinating. So I do my workouts to podcast now, and I work out for an hour and a half. I don't even know it's done, but I use the Onnit.com this last tax season, most successful tax season yet for the Alpha Brain. It's what do you call it? New
Mood.
Yeah, the New Mood.
Shroom Tech and Shroom Tech.
Yeah. So I mean, the Alpha Brain really helps. The nootropics in the Alpha Brain really help my brain. It's just vitamins for the brain. But when I do my beach workouts, I used to work out like 3.5, 4 miles at the most in a single session. I can go 7, 8, even 10 miles now with the Sport Shroom Tech because it just helps your.
It's funny because they call it Shroom Tech, so it's
got
derivative of
it's
mushrooms.
mushrooms. Yeah,
and it gets oxygen flowing. It's not like a caffeine or adrenaline thing or anything like that.
But that's funny because it's healthy. And back in the day, we would talk about shrooms, dude. And it's actually psilocybin or something like that. I mean, it's like rat poison in that stuff. So. And the stuff that gets you high. Yeah. But obviously, they're extracting now. They can extract anything, right? And obviously, shrooms aren't all, the same.
Everyone's a little bit different.
Obviously,
So do you want to tell us anything?
No. I'm going back way too far. But yeah,
let's have a flashback.
Yeah, I did it like twice, way back.
What was that like? I never did anything like that.
It was great.
Really?
It was great.
I've never
Altered states of mind. I mean, think about it. I mean, as surfers, we thrive on altering our state, you know, but we do it through physical activity. We do it in a positive way, and I do not support taking shrooms, dude, at all.
Yeah.
No,
Tell me what you mean by altered state as a surfer.
Altered state, we're all adrenaline junkies in an extreme sense, but I like what you're talking about, serotonin. But the kingpin is dopamine.
Oh, dopamine.
It's the kingpin not only of addiction, but addiction has a negative connotation, right?
But you can
and when I say adrenaline junkies, you can be. I mean, surfing is an addiction. We are literally addicted to it. If I don't surf, I start drying up on land, and I don't surf, I am jonesing for that high that only surfing can give you.
Yeah, and I get a little bit annoying.
True.
And I'm annoying to myself.
Right.
Like I'm not comfortable in my own skin.
Yeah.
And it's amazing. You go out and you surf, and even just for 1 hour, and by the time you're done and you're showering off, you're just going, could it really be that good for me? I'm like born again. My to-do list is exactly the same. All my obligations, all my stresses have not changed in the last hour or two, but since before going out in the water. And my attitude, my perspective is completely different.
I know.
You brought it up. It's like you're under it and then you're over it.
Yeah.
Surfing helps you Get over on top of your whatever you're overwhelmed.
Instead of being under the circumstances, you're over the
or
circumstances.
over them. Yeah, I like that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Surfing is, I mean, the longer I've been doing it now for about 45 years, since before I was born.
That's amazing.
That's amazing.
Womb.
Yeah,
Saltwater,
even when I was a gleam in my father's eye, I was actually surfing.
Yeah, you were a sperm.
But you know,
you were body surfing. You were. Do you remember that?
Yeah, through the fallopian tube.
Do you remember?
Oh, I do remember.
Must have
Sorry.
been
Okay, we're digressing here. But
we wanted to go all the way back, but not that far back.
Yeah, but no, it is, as time goes on, my appreciation for that fix that only surfing can give is just growing deeper and deeper, and that's why a book like yours is going to be so awesome, not only for surfers but for anybody who can relate. It doesn't matter, pick your sport, but you got to admit surfing's got to be, out of every sport, right up there in terms of one of the funnest, but one of the coolest. It has people that don't even swim, and they're in Spearfish, South Dakota, and they see somebody getting back to the roots. If you believe we came from water, and our bodies are 75% water or more, and then the earth is 75% or more, it all makes sense. We're getting back to something primitive,
real primal,
and yet
primordial.
Spiritual.
Yeah.
But if you think about it, before the the Big Bang,
yeah,
of course,
it
was spirit. This is what I believe.
Yeah.
And then now all of a sudden the physical world is a representation of something unseen, and Einstein confirmed that.
Yeah.
But he, and it's being confirmed more and more.
But what was the first thing that happened in that first one? I got a book over here. Can't reach it, but in the first 1/zillionth of a second, there was radiation.
Yeah.
What is radiation? It's a wave. Right. So right from the beginning, there's waves. And that the juice out here came from that first emanation. 13.5 billion years ago.
Yeah, and I love it. Because out of all the quantum physics and string theory and all our greatest minds, everything accumulated up to this year, the greatest explanation we can have for the origin of life is this: in the beginning, there was nothing. Then it exploded.
Yeah, let there be light. Light's a wave.
But how does something come from nothing? But that's a whole.
There has to
thing.
be no. It isn't. There has to be an ultimate causality. And that's even if there was a universe before this universe, maybe this is the billionth universe.
Maybe we're in a black hole or something.
What was the ultimate causality of those universes that that birthed
Where does
this
it all start?
So the ultimate causality, of course, is God. It's spirit, like you said.
Right,
yeah.
And it can be. I like it if you can make it broad enough for anybody to jump in the game,
right?
So that you're not excluding anybody. And I know some people go, "Oh, no, there's only one," and you know what I mean. But I just want to be more open minded and just go, if you keep it like your God, then everybody gets to partake. Because I think with organized religion and man-made stuff and all the particular doctrines and laws, like, for example, I'll just throw out Sharia law, which I want to learn more about, but it's causing more problems than solving them. And that's what spirituality and God's meant to do. That relationship's meant to solve our issues, not make them worse. And man is messing it up. Yeah. So I don't mean God in the organized religion sense.
Well, once any religion becomes radical, when it becomes really radical, then it starts getting dangerous, because then there's people that are murdering or killing people in the name of the God they're serving. It's crazy.
That's just twisted. I don't know. I think I know that
like the Crusades, with the Christianity.
Well, we always say
also,
one of our
with any religion, it's like that.
It can be,
and that's just what that really is. It's just someone taking the power out of it and put it into their own hands.
Yeah, taking something.
Well put. That's well put.
Taking something beautiful. Well, I know our black belt, our ninja code. One of them is being open-minded while at the same time holding true to that which you believe. So you have to be able to be open here. But I think, when you start reading the great philosophers, you go back to Plato and Aristotle and St. Augustine, and I think of Justin Martyr and Thomas Aquinas. These guys are great thinkers. You can go deep, but you don't have to be offensive in your search for discovery. Yeah. But I think we all know, I know my feeling of riding a wave. my thought is always back to the moment of the birth of the universe. The minute I dip in my hands
Wow,
into the
that's
wave,
really cool.
I'm thinking about that first, the energy that I'm riding ultimately went back to that moment. And then what was that moment before?
Yep.
And I think that's the quest that surfers sense more than others. Because I don't even think of surfing really, you should call it a sport.
Do you think it's possible to ride the same wave twice? Like
No.
the energy of the wave comes back, you know?
Not
That's
the same
true.
one. And I think that's the beauty of it. I've never seen the same wave. I've
Beautiful.
seen same kinds of waves, but there's always something
Yeah.
unique about each wave. Just like, what was it, Pocahontas, where she goes, the thing about rivers is you can't step in the same river twice. And what she means is that water that's flowing through it is not the same water that you'll be stepping into the next moment. It's
true.
You know, but I wanted to bring up what you were talking about, what you get when you go into the ocean and you surf and you go back to before time began.
Yeah.
And it reminded me of what we were talking about just as we started out. You're talking about when these guys that were over here and they're pushing their physical limits. And it just reminded me, I don't know if you read Lance Armstrong's autobiography. It's not about the bike.
To read it, though.
Dude, that guy is... It's not about the book. It's not about the bike. An absolute read for anybody.
It's a spiritual journey. I mean, on the bike, right?
Oh, yeah. But what he would find, and I'm sure many people have found it, but when he's pushing it, when he's in his most pain, is when he has the purest consciousness of being in the moment.
Exactly.
Now I get little teeny glimpses, not even on the same category, but surfing when you lose yourself, it's amazing because that's what your true self is.
Yeah.
When you
crack
disappear.
the outer shell. Yeah.
Yeah. And then all of a sudden you're empty and yet you're full. It's you know what I mean?
It's the moment of well, you know, I'm not a Lance Armstrong, but I rode my bicycle across the United States once, and that was
grueling,
a deeply inner journey. It had very little to do with physical ability. That was something going as deep as I could in the core of my being to find a way to pedal the pedal one more time, going down a mountain into the wind of Tropical Storm Allison. I had to pedal downhill, and yeah, you have to get to that breaking point. Going back to that clean break concept, you have to get to the breaking point where you can say, "When I am weak, then I am strong." And you can break the hard outer shell, you know, and you get to that moment where you're in the now. And that's why I go back to the Hebrew name for God, Yahweh. I am who am. Moses said, "What's your name?" And he goes, "I am who am." I live in the now. I don't live in linear time and space.
Right.
You know? And so when I was younger, I thought about a God that always was and always will be. But that's within the context of this created universe. But somewhere beyond the time-space continuum where you travel at the speed of light,
yep,
that's now. And that's that moment I think that we all look for. Like when I'm jumping out of an airplane, I'm thinking about just that one moment.
Yeah.
I'm not thinking about
nothing else.
When we're riding a perfect wave, and I'm really like to read that book. When you're pushing that pedal one more time.
Oh, you would love it.
You're totally into that moment.
See, I've never even been into biking. I mean, I've biked before, but never pushed it.
You've done distance paddling, I bet, and things like that.
Yeah, but I'm not really a disciplined, athlete. That endurance stuff. My hat's off to them.
Yeah, well, don't say that because that's in their nature.
Jamie Mitchell. Jamie Mitchell was just in town, and he has a new movie out, and they had the stand-up paddle fest in Waikiki.
Yeah.
I'm sure you know about it.
There,
Quicksilver Waterman was sponsoring it, and Kona Red, and so
I
was down there for
sponsor.
That was but. They interview in the movie. Jamie Mitchell he's such a great human being, so inspirational, and Kelly Slater got on there. He's going, most people can't relate to and understand the accomplishment, what this guy Jamie Mitchell has done. And there's 11-time world champ Kelly Slater admiring Jamie because he's gone, I wouldn't want to do it. I wouldn't want to go. Yeah. He's an endurance athlete like Lance Armstrong, and they're a special breed.
He's won the Molokai Channel crossing.
10 times.
10 times. Wow.
10 times consecutively.
Yeah.
Nobody else in the history of sport
and that's
has
just
ever
digging deep.
Yeah, and if he was when he comes to town, Bear, you got to get Jamie Mitchell in here.
You get him on.
Yeah, I will. Together. And you have to you got to read that Lance Armstrong book. It's not about the bike, especially with your experience in it. But no, I'm more like I like to go out and have fun. I love the gym. I love pushing myself. But that stuff where you're pushing for 5-6 hours, you got to be kidding me.
But it's in my nature to do that. It's in my nature, and it's therapy. Even though it's really, really hard, it's in my nature to do endurance things. It's just in my nature.
Yeah.
You know what it is? It's I like getting to the edge of my. I like to push. I like to get to failure. I like to get to failure because then until you've traveled to failure, you don't really know your
who
capacity.
you are.
You don't know who you are.
Yeah.
So in the middle of when I rode through the desert, I left San Diego Harbor, went up those coastal mountains. That was the hardest part of the ride. I had to walk my bike part of the way up those mountains. And then I went down the other side the next day and into 8 days of record-breaking heat, followed by about 4 or 5 days of nice weather, followed by 7 days of Hurricane Allison.
Isn't it funny? Like, we're all about surfing, and yet here we've been talking about long-distance paddling and biking. And but really,
whatever brings you that spiritual connection.
And I think that's cool because a lot of people can relate to it. When you can appreciate other sports, even if you don't do them. Like I used to promo the MMAs way back.
Really? Did you?
TJ Thompson, Super Brawl.
Wow.
I was always right up there in the front row.
Really?
Yes.
Wow.
Shaq O'Neal and the boys were behind me one day.
Really?
Yeah. I mean, I was like, this is so cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. And watching the girls with their little, signs up, it's just all so macho. It's so libido and it's so primitive.
Yeah, it's primitive.
But it's also, I always appreciated it. It was a little gnarly back then because there was less rules, but in terms of an art form, there's just something about hand to hand.
Yeah, it's an art. It's a chess game. It's skill. It's stamina,
and it is the fastest growing sport in the world and making how much money? I just was watching it. I just came from the gym.
Yeah,
Fuel TV.
Fuel TV. That's Clean Break.
Well, let me tell you, Fuel TV is really on it, man, because they have so much variety, and you can sit up there and you can watch motocross, the guys, what they're doing on the bike or on their skateboards.
It's individual type stuff.
But it's all pretty, I like it. I like the extreme aspect.
Right.
And that's what surf, even though it's funny because we talk about extreme, but going back to what you do, with tandem or longboarding, it's more beautiful and flowing.
And you know what? When you're
which is not extreme.
When you're tandem surfing or when you're surfing, you're the artist with the brush, but you're also the painting. And it's one of those types of art that's transient, like a baby's smile is transient. It doesn't stay. It's not like a painting like this here that you'll see tomorrow. It's just one of those, my daughter does these types of art shows where it's there today and gone tomorrow. And it's kind of like that. It's like tandem surfing is an art more than a sport. And it seems to me that, surfers play. So many things that are called sports are about beating someone, which to me has gotten kind of silly. To try to beat someone at something instead of to go out and just display this art and enjoy the moment of surfing.
Yeah, I agree. Well, but surfing is all those things. So Shane, you were bringing it up. It's all things. It's whatever you want it to be, and that's the beauty of surfing. It can be hardcore sport competition.
Yes,
and that's what motivates you, and that's what pushes you to your limits.
Wherever you are, you bring what you are to surfing, and it'll adapt to you.
Yeah,
just like a wave.
And then, but I just got a longboard. I'm primarily a shortboarder, but I got a longboard from Carl.
That's okay.
Carl Shopper. And this guy, he shapes for Bonga Perkins, multi-world championship chips under his belt, and Carl's the man, and he got me a high performance longboard, and I've taken it out to Eva Beach in Waikiki and out to Diamond Head, and just learned to approach the wave differently. Now I have a tendency to want to turn the board and try to get on the rail and sweep, but then there's those times where I'm just trimming, and all of a sudden you can look around, and your consciousness can almost expand to the things going on around you more than you can if you're on a small board and you're pocket surfing and you're
busy.
You're busy.
Yeah.
And so, but it's great being a shortboarder and then switching and seeing that difference, not only in terms of approach to the wave, but the effect on your reward.
Soul surfing. It's more of a soulful.
But
you're flowing with the wave in a more. You're more adapting to the wave than having the wave adapt to you. I don't know how to say it, but
but you know what though? You talk to the young kids that are performing, they're going, man, my reverse El Rolo, umpty do loop, whatever. Yeah. That to them's art.
No, it is art.
That's to them
it is art, but it's a different thing when you're, for example, when you're body surfing, you're actually you're in the wave, and when you're longboarding, you tend to be more connected to the flow of the wave. Shortboarding, you're taking that energy and taking it with you, just about. You're absorbing.
Yeah, you're creating it through your muscles,
with your muscle and everything else. So that kind of like you go from shortboarding to longboarding to body surfing, where you're just in the wave. You're actually in the wave. Your 86% of your body is inside the wave.
Yeah, you brought that up.
You become part of it because the ions are flowing through you.
Oh, it's definitely a different experience. I'm glad you brought it up. I was just out surfing a spot up at where I live in Eva Beach, and we were talking about going out. No, that was a different conversation. I was out at Diamond Head, which, by the way, was going off.
Yeah.
On this last swell, when the variable winds hit.
Yeah.
That's another topic. But we were out there discussing body surfing and how, like Sandy Beach, you can go out to Sandy Beach where it's 2 to 3 feet, get 20 barrels an hour.
Right.
And you learn to think quicker, and your body learns to read the energy under the water versus on top of it. And then you find when you're done and you go surfing, you're wiping out with more skill.
Right.
And you can handle it. Like I tell you, I can go body surfing and go back to surfing, and my surfing has improved.
Well, think about this. You go from that shortboarding where you're using the energy, you're accelerating, you make your own energy. This more of the soulful longboarding. But some of the takeoffs in body surfing are actually submarine takeoffs. Where you go underwater.
Yes.
And you're swimming, you're underwater swimming and accelerating into that wave. You're not swimming with your hands outside. You submarine into it, and now you're actually
in the water. You're submerged,
and you're feeling but then you learn there's energy here. There's energy down deep here.
Yeah,
it's not the surface. So you learn about the wave, and I think the thing that makes
learn about the wave.
What makes Hawaiian watermen, I think, special in the world and unique is that you shortboard, you longboard, the watermen here tend in other places they tend to say I'm a shortboarder, I'm a longboarder, I'm a stand-up paddler, but in Hawaii it seems to mean you're everything.
Everything. Well, you know what? I would. I'll tell you what. I'd love to get into everything if I had the time. But if your time is precious and you only have so much time, energy. Like
there we go again.
Like for
time,
me,
space continuum.
If I do a 4-hour session, I don't need any more. Even a 3-hour, I can be done or break it up. And so if there's waves, I don't want to go out and learn kiteboarding, although I've had great friends of mine like Pat Caldwell, love it. Sonia Evanson.
It's hard.
It's super hard and dangerous. Sonia Evanson, a surf reporter for me,
nailed in a tree.
She lost the top of her finger.
What happened?
It got caught in the cable.
Well, how about when we went and shot the kite sequence?
Yeah.
And he was telling us that one of the guys.
Oh man.
There was so much wind that he flew over into the air and landed in a neighborhood like 4 or 5 blocks down.
Yeah, and he's telling me all this before I go out, and I'm like, I was really stoked, and I'm like, okay.
Oh no!
Whenever I feel that kite take off,
especially if you don't know how to read wind and all that stuff, and you're new, you can.
Yeah, but you can.
Even the experts can die. Man.
But if you're a sailor, right,
crazy,
and you know about wind, you don't know about wind 50 feet up.
Yeah,
wind across the water,
different, big time.
You see,
how do you read? Yeah. How do those guys read it?
They read it. They see the clouds come and they go. There's wind. You know how you can see when
yeah.
It comes in gusts, and it kind of freaked me out when you kite surf. When I first was learning, I was trying to pull myself out of the water with a kite, like you do when you're behind a boat on a wakeboard. But no, though it's so powerful, it lifts you out of the water, and then you ride.
Jeez, yeah, I've heard stories of guys going up 300-400 feet inland.
Yeah, you're in trouble.
You're in big trouble.
I saw someone jump the jetty over here by Ala Moana.
Yeah,
jumped it, came back, jumped it again, came back, didn't quite make it over.
It's heavy, man. You know, we talk about it heavy, and there is heavy. You know, Chopu or Teahupu. There's Pipeline, and there's Peahi. There's all these spots, ship sterns down in Australia. And surfing is dangerous. But relatively speaking, there's way more dangerous sports out there. I think, you know, the guys snowboarding down those ridiculous mountains is just
avalanche falling. You know what's one of the most dangerous sports in the world? Seriously, 150 people a year.
Not free base.
No,
the free. What they call it? Base jumping.
It's more dangerous than more people die. It's more dangerous than that.
What?
Sitting under a coconut tree.
Oh, come on.
No, 150 people a year get killed by coconuts falling. So I don't want to see. That's extreme.
Wow.
I want to see that.
You want to talk about getting back to your origins?
I want to see. I want to see Fuel TV just show pictures of people sitting under coconut trees.
Yeah, I found
for hours.
All the 150 people.
Think they would finally get up to wearing a helmet.
The killer coconut trees of Molokai.
But you know, you could have your next book. You know, discuss the 150 people a year that find God.
It's extreme, dude. It's extreme.
Sitting under a coconut tree.
Now, see, in Oahu, of course, the coconuts are cut out. You know, but you go to Molokai,
and there's
that is radical, dude. Yeah. We should try it sometime. Just sit there like that. Sit there for an hour. See how extreme that is.
Not to say, going back to appreciating, like, for example, what Garrett McNamara had done on that wave.
I was there in Chopu on Bloody Sunday.
Oh, I was talking about the wave that he got in South America. It was 78 feet. It's the world record.
Yeah, they just in the last.
Yeah, and he's getting all this. He's getting mainstream media coverage now. It is in the Guinness Book of World Records. It's a record.
It was bigger than 78.
I thought so. It came out at 90, but the thing is, in evaluating wave heights, which is part of my business, the confounding variable is the trough. And that particular break he was in had a huge trough that did have some vertical height in it, but it was probably stretched out over a football field. And he was saying the way that energy converges, each wave successfully gets closer on the inside. So if he would have fallen on that wave, he would have died.
So far.
And he was wearing one of those inflatable vests.
When you say fall, you mean the fall would have killed him?
You mean like
he would have fallen? He would have just. Yep, the next wave would have got him, and he would have just drowned. If you look at how big and how much energy that guy was, it's so beautiful, and he made it, but it belies the danger that Garrett was in that circumstance. I think he could have drowned.
Yeah. I was there on Bloody Sunday. Bloody Sunday in Chopu?
You were there on... No, Bloody Sunday or Code Red, because Code Red
called it Bloody Sunday. It was probably called Code Red.
Well, you mean just last August? Wait.
Okay, no, this is about 4 or 5
years ago.
You're getting mixed up with the bull riding. Right?
No. Well, that was a funny thing, because that year, wherever I went, horrible things happened. It was the bloodiest day, I think, in the history of surfing. I called it Bloody Sunday, and I know Surfers Village called it Bloody Sunday, too. In Chopu,
but Code Red sounds
earlier that summer I had ran with the Bulls in Pamplona. No, that was a year before that, and it was the bloodiest day in the history of Pamplona.
Oh, jeez.
So wherever I was
they called that Bloody Sun or Bloody Wednesday or something like that.
No, but Garrett. I saw Garrett deeper. I was on my board looking right down the barrel of the gun, and I saw. It seemed like he was hundreds of yards deep inside this barrel. And
was that the one where the Tahitian guy dropped in and was in front of him?
Yep.
You were there looking at that?
I was looking right down the barrel.
Guys, that guy is he nuts?
Well, and he got the wave closed down on him, and I think it was that wave where it closed down on him. He got drug across the reef, and of course his jet ski partner couldn't go get him because then they would have both been in trouble. So he had to just kind of wait it out. And when he came back, he came right by me on the jet ski. He had a big smile on his face. He was driving, and the whole right side of his leg seemed to look like ham.
Oh, I saw that. I've seen video.
I could touch him like I was touching you right
now.
Check
it out. I got a great story. About 15 years ago, I was going up to these action sports retail shows, maybe 12 years.
Long Beach or
12 to 15. This one was in San Diego.
San Diego.
They used to do them twice a year. Then they ended up in San Diego from Long Beach. Then Long Beach stopped, and now there's no more ASRs.
There's one in Orlando.
In Orlando, yeah, but
we're gonna go this year.
There's none on the West Coast when you think about that.
Really,
that's crazy.
Isn't?
No, that shows you. No, and they're not doing ASRs. But
there's something in Orlando. What is that? That's ASR.
That's an ASR. Yeah, maybe they're doing it on the East Coast. Yeah. But anyway, they were. This is when it was popular. There's 2 floors, and Garrett had just. So it was 12 to 14 years ago, and he had just surfed Teahupu, and it was giant. It was his first photos that he got, and he was at ASR promoting it. And no, wait a minute. God, I got my story. I got ahead of myself. Prior to him doing that, he spent the night. See, I'm from San Diego. Been over here for 32 years. He and a guy named Sean Wingate, who are friends, both North Shore residents, stayed at my folks' house because they needed a place to stay. My folks were gone. So we were all hanging out, partying hard, drinking.
No mushrooms.
And check this out. No. And Garrett was sitting down like 3 a.m. in the morning, and I go, what you doing? And he's jotting down his dreams of riding the biggest waves and winning, having a big wave world circuit and being a big wave world champion. And
in essence, he is.
He pulled it off.
Yep.
He wrote his dreams down, and he pulled it off.
I should show you. See, I have all these leather-bound books over here. I don't know if we just rearranged things, but I was reading the other day. Whenever I have these leather-bound books where I write my letters to God and write letters to myself, and I write down my dreams and I write down my goals, and it was so interesting because I pulled one out about a week ago, and I was rearranging things, and I go, all these things I said I was going to do, I did. I was talking about I was going to create a world tour for tandem surfing. I was going to bring a world championship to Waikiki, and I don't know some of the other things, but it was amazing how when you write things down, how
that they happen even after you forgot you might have had that initial.
And they tend to accelerate. Like when I was going to ride my bicycle across the United States, I said, okay, in 3 years' time, I'm going to do this. It was 6 months later, because you get kind of pumped about it, and things kind of go in motion when you start. And you're a writer, you're an author. Words are magical, powerful things.
Yeah, they are. Yeah. Boy, man, they can make or break the world. Yeah, the way things are going nowadays. I used to be a columnist at Midweek. I did a surf column there, and then I throw out stuff every now and then on the website or whatever. But technically, those days are over. But I'd like to bring them back, so maybe I should write that down. So thank you for the idea.
Words, I think about. There's a verse that says, "In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God, and the Word was God, and through Him all things came to be." Word is so powerful. It's like it's information. They say that basically energy is just information.
Yeah. Yeah, when you break it down, in the quantum level, right?
So the power of words is.
Oh, I agree. Yeah, I love that. It's a phenomenal verb. Like, what do they mean? And that means that before the physical world, or that Big Bang that we like to call it,
there was nothing.
There was mind. There was something that existed in whole or pure form. It was
mind. It wasn't brain. It wasn't matter. It was
but there was
mind.
A plan. Like I think that if you think of all of us, we're all evolving, and that is the plan. And ultimately, to have that connection that's so profound with the Creator that we can live forever and accomplish much more than we are. And I think we're midstream. We're not done with this wave as
close.
A race,
no.
As a being. And I think, what are we going to be 2 million years from now as a being?
Surfers.
Well, did you guys hear about, have you guys ever heard of TED.com?
What?
Yeah.
There's
a lot of different 10-minute seminars.
They had this thing where they, I'm trying to put it up right now, but they found out that the universe is written in computer code. Like the way
it's information
that it's written is like if they do quantum physics or I don't know, some sort of math, some crazy math, they figure out that it's written in code.
Yeah,
as like a computer.
Jeez.
No, I wouldn't doubt it. I mean, I think it's information. When I love to read all these quantum physics books. You do too, don't you?
Yeah, I do.
But I can't explain them. I read them. I can't talk about it.
Oh yeah. Well, what they do is put it into layman's terms, but the second they start really getting into math and all that, I mean, the thing is that blows me away, and I'm too afraid to ever really go look, is that all these layman terms and concepts are all expressed mathematically. I went, you got to be kidding me. How do you do that?
Yeah. So when you said mind, back at the beginning there was mind. or some would say spirit. But there was an intelligence.
Yeah, but I like how they said the Word became flesh and dwelt among us, meaning that there's a connection between where we're meant to go. There's a plan, and it has existed prior to.
And that's where you go back and you read Plato, and you read Augustine and Aquinas. These guys, it's really chewy. It's like I used to think C.S. Lewis was chewy.
Oh, you mean like long-winded and stuff?
Well, no, not. It's just deep. I mean, they ask like, is the soul inside the body or the body inside the soul? Is there something?
Are we physical beings having a spiritual experience, or spirits having a physical experience?
Or is it like the Matrix? Like, because one day we're gonna have a computer system that will be able to recreate everything, and it'll be so amazing that you won't be able to tell the difference.
Yeah. Or are we spirit, soul, and body? Are we three different types of things? And to what point? I mean, it's just an amazing evolution that we're going through. Now I want to ask you a question.
Sure.
A little bit different. I'd like to ask you, if you're an author and you're good with words, it might be hard to put this into words, but can you describe for us one of your best memories of a perfect wave that you wrote?
There's a lot of them, but one of them I'll tell you was in Tavarua at a place called Restaurants. It's the surf spot right out in front.
Lucky. Yeah.
And it was all time. I think cloud break was 8 to 12, and it was like 4 to 12 6.
Hawaiian style.
Yeah.
Wow.
And then right out in front, it was double plus overhead and stacking, and there was like only 4 of us out, and it was glassy, and the sets, you could see them start to line up, so you knew they were coming in. This
how far out could you see them?
You could see them. You could see them 2 minutes before. Well, minute and a half, 2 minutes before they got there.
Wow!
And then so you would have this, and you knew you were going to get this ride that was going to be a freight train of up to a. Geez, I don't know. It was like a 150 to 300 yard ride that was absolutely perfect. That took you, like over here in Waikiki, relative in first gear, and down over there you're in fourth gear. It has so much tail push, and you take off on these things sideways, like you're gonna just jump on the freight train as it goes by. So you go, and then the thing builds as it sweeps in. You can look ahead and just going, geez, this wave is flawless. It's nature's mechanical perfection, and so it's easy, and you're just up at this high gear, so you feel like you can just do almost anything, and it builds. So if you take off where it's 4 feet, it'll jack to 5 and 6 feet in the midsection
and get faster.
And on the inside, it'll get faster, but actually where it gets big, it actually backs off a little bit, so you can do turns, and you're just racing, and it's fresh coral, brand new coral, colorful stuff underneath you, man.
You can see it.
It's not to be trifled with. I mean, Tavarua, people think it's so beautiful. No, that wave can eat you up. And so, that session was about 3.5, 4 hours. And to this day, I've never cramped. I was cramping like 5 different places: calves, arches, biceps, triceps, chest, neck.
Why? Because of the length of ride, or just
because I had just been surfing like a fiend. I mean, this was back in like in '87 was my first time there. Actually, one of my great stories is I was actually there before people knew about it in '83 and surfed out there. The locals took me out. This is before the surf camp. But when I got down there on the surf camp days, when it was $100 a day, I had that one session. It was so funny. Joe Teipel? So Surfer Joe is the guy about the Surf News Network and he and I got involved with this thing again over 30 years ago. He started it in '76 on KHVH, KCCN, and KPOI, and I jumped in, and we created it together from there. And but he was surfing out at, was this the session? I forget, because they all start to blend, because you're surfing like 2 or 3 times a day, and you are surfing incredible waves. And I remember he coming in, and he was like, cloud break was good too, right? He was coming in, and he was, he was talking about it, waving his hands about how good it was, and then he saw one set come through, and he just was silenced as he watched this perfect set that we've been surfing, like with a handful of guys come in, and I could not paddle in. I had to paddle out. I was in danger. But that's probably one of the best surf sessions of my life. Kelly
you had no more juice. You couldn't catch it.
Well, no, I could, but I was cramping. I was like trying to conserve. Don't paddle out too quick. Okay, stop. Don't move. Okay, now move out. Now move out a little bit further. But dude, it was it was so perfect. But let me tell you, that Kelly
you
Slater,
are an endurance athlete, then.
Dude, check it out. Kelly Slater said that. Now maybe he's changed his mind, but I remember 10 years ago or something. You know, he said that left restaurants is his best wave ever. Now, if there's a guy that has surfed the best waves on the planet more than anybody else, it is him. And this wave, when it's doing its thing, quote unquote, is one of the best.
You were there.
Yeah, and I want to go back. I actually got back 4 times, but I haven't been back in 15, 20 years because it's like $300 a day now, or more, and it's constantly sold out. You don't want to go down there when it's all zooed out, you know. And plus, it's open now.
Yeah, because people can boat in.
Anybody can come over from Namotu, anywhere, and there's all these other surf camps.
And where is Tavarua? Tell the
Fiji.
People in San Diego.
Well, it's in Fiji,
in Detroit.
Fiji, and it's a little island. Tavarua is a little island. You can walk around it in 15 minutes. I mean,
you can't really even go there anymore unless you've been grandfathered in, because you reserve and then you reserve the next year. And
no, you can go. Oh no, I mean the business isn't that good for them, but they can get there $300 a night. And it's a whole different experience now. They got back in our day. They had the water bags that would be heated up in the sun.
I remember the first articles about that.
I loved it. I loved roughing it a little bit. But, you know, when you're done surfing, you get in there, you're just grinding because you're so hungry. You're hanging out with all your bros. You're sucking down a couple Fiji bitters or whatever there were. And you're just so fundamentally happy.
Yeah.
I got to tell you.
Clean inside, huh?
Yeah, just, you know. And then, of course, but what happens for a lot of people, including myself, is that you always want more. God, was cramping up, or man, I should have done this on that wave, and you're always wanting more. And so
how could you want more after that?
You just do. Like you're thinking, God, the next day I want to get out early and I want to beat the crowd and I want to, you know, and I want to see if I can, you know, do better.
Yeah.
Always do better, right? Because that part of it,
that's part of surfing.
Is the reward is not just the doing what you thought you could do, but maybe having a moment where you do something that you didn't know you could do.
And that's why surfers.
I just think that's part of
the
humanity,
best surfers.
Though. Just wanting to do better and better. You know,
it is.
It's never ending. You know, like.
But there is a point of perfection. You know, and that I think every surfer understands that search for the perfect wave. You know, and I remember as a child, I wanted the perfect wave. I mean, as a little kid body surfing, I wanted that perfect wave. But I realized that is really a desire for the perfect one. I always think of it that's that inner romantic feeling for perfection is really a longing. There's something planted in us that longs for that perfect one.
Yeah,
you know, for the creator of the wave. I mean, eventually, when you're a surfer, you're in creation, right? You're actually one with creation. The word creation has that word creator in it, right? And so, I don't know, I think that's why so many surfers, they call them soul surfers. They're still around, you know. You see a lot of people ripping waves apart. And I remember when I first came back to California after being gone for 13 years, and I left in the longboard era and came back when everything was neon green and pink and blue wetsuits. And,
oh, yeah.
You know, and I go, where did the soul surfers go? Where are they? And then I remember looking out at the point at County Line and seeing like 2 or 3 guys way out there wearing black wetsuits.
Yeah.
on longboards.
Yeah. But
and
you know what?
Waiting and waiting.
You know what, though? I got to tell you, I follow the tour and have been for a long time. I follow it in depth. And, you know, I'm getting up there. And let me tell you, a lot of people don't realize how much love and soul even the rippers have. They love their sport, and that's why they're the best, and they want to make a living at it so they can do it more. They're the adrenaline junkies, and when you listen to them talk, it's going, my God, you know, they really just want to surf. The competition is secondary, and yet they're at the top.
That gives them their ticket. But no, I'm talking about the posers. You know, the ones that are just. But no, I know.
Posers. That's you want to talk about human nature. You know, that's gonna be part of the package too. You know, there are people that are the purists and that want to always grow and evolve, and then there are the posers. Mm-hmm. You know, I gotta admit, I'm a wannabe. If I had the choice, I could have been a better surfer or made more money, or there's so many people I admire. Sure, I'm a wannabe in every single role of my life. Like my dad, I would want to be as good as my dad was. There's nothing wrong with wanting to being a wannabe, just as long as it's sincere, not arrogant.
Should always be
You're
a
not,
wannabe.
Pretending, and then
A wannabe is different than a poser, though. That's a whole different mindset.
Yeah,
we should always be a wannabe. We should always
like that one
push
yesterday
our limits.
when we're at the studio and you're reading the book, and that one chapter you were reading, he said the guy bolted the surfboard to the top of his car.
I actually used to see
He's
a car.
totally a poser. Totally never was going to say
I used to see a car in Southern California where the guy bolted the surfboard with bolts to the top of his car. Yeah, because he was doing that poser sort of.
So
Have you guys got air conditioning in here?
I just put on the fan.
Okay.
I don't know if that helped. Let's go ahead and let the trade winds in a little bit, Shane. Why don't you open up that window for Gary? I don't think anybody really minds hearing the trade winds too much.
No, God, but yeah, I'm surprised it heated up in here.
So now I want to hear the next question I want to ask you is a memorable wipeout.
Well, a memorable wipeout.
Right now. I bet there's so many things running through your mind.
Oh my God! Yeah. Well, I
got one too, Shane. Let's do
one that pops into my head is it's two circumstances exactly the same. It was back in the 80s. I was out at Waimea just almost every time it broke, and this was back in the day. And
when was this?
Back in the 80s, and I remember on one wave taking off super late.
So talk about Waimea first, because remember, a lot of people are not.
They don't know Waimea. Well, Waimea is probably, in terms of all big wave riding spots, that has the most mana, that has the most spirit, that has the most history, of any other spot. That's why the Quicksilver Eddie Aikau Big Wave Invitational is,
it's on the north shore of Oahu.
It just, that event, Google it, Eddie Aikau Quicksilver Big Wave Riding Invitational. And that'll tell you, that'll lead you. The Quicksilver website will get you.
We're going to get Clyde on our podcast.
That would be great. Well, that Clyde Aikau, Eddie's older brother.
I used to work for him.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, I used to work for Clyde.
Oh, okay. Yeah, what a family. But anyway, I was out there riding. I took off on a big one, probably about 18 feet.
So explain that in wave face so people can really appreciate
30 feet. Like 6 times overhead. It was a big one, and it was in the bowl area where the water really converges and throws out, and I had to straighten out, and I stood up, I just crouched and just was ready to just get obliterated.
Why did you have to straighten out? Someone was up in?
No, it just passed me up.
Oh.
If I didn't, I was going to get axed by the lip.
You were just trying to outrun it.
Outrun it. So the lip crashed around me, and I'm holding my breath, ready just to get whipped and evaporated at any moment, and I disappear. I can't see a thing but white water, and the next thing I know, I just get jettisoned out of this thing, and I just thought, oh my God, I am are you kidding me? I made that. I must be really
still
good.
on the surfboard?
I must be really good.
Yeah.
I made that thing. It was ridiculous. I was okay. I'm the man, right? So I go back out in the same session, and I did.
Pride comes before the fall.
Yeah, and I get in the same circumstance, and I got my pride in my pants handed to me, dude. It did what I thought the first one was going to do.
That's what it always seems like when you feel like you're I'm $1 million. I'm invincible type of attitude. You get slammed.
Let me tell you, when it hit me,
I want to know moment by moment.
When it hit me, the second one hit me. Then I was more confident. I said, well, this is cool. I've been here, done this, and it just, dude, it wasn't even it's like the personality of Waimea is going, now here's a little lesson for you. I gave you a gift the one before, but now this one is actually what will happen to you 9 times out of 10. And it probably catapulted me, just the power of the whitewater. I don't know, I felt like I was flying for 10 feet and then splashed in and got ragdolled where your limbs feel like you're going to get ripped off.
So you didn't go deep, you were surface.
Yeah, I kind of stayed in the surface. Then you eventually, since the body mass is thicker than water, the board, and you tend to, you separate, and the white water eventually lets you go. But you got to handle it for what seems like an eternity, like 15 seconds in that ragdoll toilet bowl experience. You can get the air knocked out of you, and you have to try to go into a zen. But anyway, that was it wasn't my greatest wipeout, but it was the circumstance of Waimea humbling you and actually giving, I love the movie. It's In God's Hands, and I love the title, and it really is true. The real big wave riders, because I was really a wannabe. I mean, the biggest wave I've started is 20 feet, whereas the guys now are paddling into 30 and 35 waves, and they're towing into 40, 45. Like that wave that Garrett's on, if they were talking about Hawaiian scale, that thing would be 45 feet, 40 to 45 feet.
But it was more like 70,
and it was almost 80 feet. Let's just round it up, 80 feet. I mean, to be honest with you,
we always talk in terms of faces because so many of our listeners don't know Hawaiian scale.
Right. Well, they tend to equate with open ocean swell. So, for example, if a swell's coming in for town, let's say, and the buoys that are sitting out in the open ocean say 3 feet, 18 seconds, which the swell period is a different discussion. But let me get to that in a second. But 3 feet of open ocean, when it at 15 seconds, let's say, when it rolls in, will feel the bottom and jack up, and that 3 foot open ocean will translate into 5 or 6 feet of face. If from the crest to the trough, that 3 feet of open ocean, surfers tend, the way they talk about it, tends to equate to the open ocean swell, the overall energy in the ocean. Now check this out, just so people can, this is the metaphor that really helped me to understand when you hear about periods. What? Height is just vertical, measuring the vertical height of the wave, breaking or out in the open ocean. But the period is measuring a wave through time.
Much a lot more.
It's a great
volume.
It's a quantity. It's a conservative quantity. So let me explain how I like to look at a wave period. Picture a beach ball and shove that thing down into the water. Now stack about 10 beach balls side by side, and now put them in like a caboose, like a train of 10 individual waves, and have that train moving across the ocean. The train would be moving at, say, 40 miles an hour, but the individual waves, or 20 miles an hour, but the individual waves inside will move twice as fast as the group. And the period, the bigger those beach balls, the longer the period and the more energy in the water. Now, this will give you an idea of how much energy we're talking about. A 20-second period will feel the bottom of the ocean 1,000 feet down.
Wow.
20 seconds, and it will be felt 1,000 feet down. That's insane energy. So that's why when you go up to the North Shore and you've got this 15-foot, 20-second, and you're seeing the outer reefs all going off. And you're seeing, if you're out in the outer reefs and you look out further, you can see swell where it's 1,000 feet deep, because those 20-second periods are actually coming up off the bottom.
You can see them
you can see them miles
out.
Yeah,
like several minutes out. You watch them start to stack up, and you just know they're coming.
Now here's the amazing thing that Mother Nature has done with these swell periods and the way that waves move in groups or swell trains, and the individual waves moving twice the velocity as the group. And so let's say we get something from this last swell. Well, we had one from the east side of New Zealand, about 4,000 to 5,000 miles.
And it came all the way to Hawaii.
Came all the way to Hawaii. Now down there you have a 30-foot waves down there. These are like the equivalent of our Hawaii winter storms, but now it's their winter, the austral winter. Summer up here, austral winter down there. So you got these giant storms, every bit as big as ours during our winter. And they're producing 30-foot seas of open ocean. Now, and let's say 20 seconds. Like hurricane force storms producing this fetch, which is the length of the winds pointing our way over a certain distance and period of time. Now, the 30-foot seas will lose about half their height every 1,000 miles. But the periods will stay 20 seconds. The period it's not exact. I'm just being very generic here, but periods are almost a conservative quantity. Alaska, at the end of that South Swell's journey, will reach 20 seconds up in the Gulf of Alaska, but the height of the open ocean swell will lose about lose half their height every 1,000 miles.
Yeah.
But how is that? That a storm, and in the ocean, it knows how to transfer energy conservatively over thousands of
And
miles.
what does
It's
that mean
brilliant.
when a 20-second
really is.
period wave comes? What does that mean?
Well,
When it
20-second
hits the
period
North Shore.
wave will feel the ocean bottom and jack up and have way more power. And a 20-second period is moving way faster. Way faster than a 12-second. Now, wind swell, just chop, like Makapu'u.
But when you say 20-second period, you mean the period between...
I'm sorry, a 20-second
Between
period. Yeah, I
trains.
didn't even explain that. You're right. It just have a fixed point in the ocean. It's the 20 seconds is the time the peak or the crest of one wave moves through and crosses that point. So a wave
From peak
swell
to
moves
peak?
through from peak to peak. It's 20 seconds. Again, picture those big giant beach balls in there, and this one beach ball rolls through.
Excuse me, Gary. Something very important. Someone very important is calling.
Crazy
you.
Todd.
Crazy Todd.
What's up?
What's up?
Hey, we got Gary Kewley's here talking about big waves. So we're glad you called in. It's Todd Robertson, big wave rider, Crazy Todd.
Hey, Crazy Todd.
Hey, aloha.
Say aloha to everybody in Estonia.
I don't know what that's. Is that near Kewley?
Yeah, it's somewhere south of Kailua. But Gary's talking story about wave periods. Hold on, we're going to let him finish talking about this, and you can give your input.
Well, we're just talking, Todd, about how a 20-second period can be felt 1,000 feet down the base of the ocean, and that's why they're moving much faster, and they jack much more when they finally reach our reefs, and can be very dangerous. Like the North Shore, of course, you're talking about vertical height of waves, but we're talking about the importance of periods, which is the amount of energy actually under the water. And just like our south swells, you can have a 5-foot swell in town with 20-second periods and it'll kick your butt. Diamond, it'll go from a 1 to 3 foot slop for beginners to 6 to 8 feet at Browns. That's every bit as powerful as Sunset Beach. And a lot of people don't catch that.
Yeah, that's the I think that's what people call a ground swell. Is that what you're trying to say? Something like that?
Yeah, groundswell. You bet. I mean, I was just explaining like wind swell, the choppy wind swell like we see at Makapu'u, like of 8, 9 seconds, 10 seconds. That actually loses energy once it feels the bottom of the ocean. But the 20-second ground swells, or 15 to 20-second ground swells, actually jack up off of it. And the bigger the period, the better.
So what do you think?
I've always noticed I enjoy the period when it's 17 seconds to 20 seconds. But when the periods are around 15 seconds, for some reason that number there always ends up the swell not being that good.
Yeah. Well, for most
What's the
people,
logic behind that?
it depends. It depends on what you're looking for. If you're looking to go be Crazy Todd, then 15 seconds ain't gonna cut it. Well, it means that the storm that produced the big waves didn't have as high of winds. In order to get 20-second periods, or even 18, you need hurricane force winds in general, which are 55 to 65 knots, somewhere up in there. So storm force to hurricane force winds are needed over like a day and a half to get those seas fully developed. And so that's why you like them for your big wave exploits. A 15-second period will never ever hit 20 feet the way you like them.
Sometimes I watch the storms, and I want that storm to last at least 48 hours.
Right, you got it.
You're saying at least a day and a half. The longer the storm sits there and spins, the better likelihood to get a good ground swell to produce a large wave.
Exactly. Now, like a 45 knot storm, which is more typical, that doesn't need a couple days to develop its full capacity. But when you're talking about extreme winds to get those extreme periods, yep, you need that up to 2 days.
And so we're talking about waves for everyone who aren't surfers. We're talking about The storm has to be at least 1,000 miles away if we're going to ride a groundswell, at least 600 miles away.
Oh,
or it's going to be like.
Oh well, no, actually, yeah, minimum that, but actually, you can get a giant groundswell 1,000 to 3,000 miles
But you
away.
need it at least that far away. Otherwise, it's like new recruits. They don't know how to march. They're bumping into each other. You need to have.
Right, they got.
We're not talking about local winds. We're talking about storms at least 1,000.
Exactly. Yes.
And further. Even
You got it. You got it.
And sometimes you'll have 2 or 3 low pressure systems converge, right?
Yes. Yep.
So what about the wave fetches? I can watch on the computer there, and it shows the wave fetches, and they're traveling in really bizarre lines. You don't drive a straight line. They're kind of curving and warping and moving.
On what now? On like the origin, where at the point of origination?
Well, sometimes when you look on the computer, right, and it shows the storms, and you see like they're trying to predict a wave fetch. And it looks like it's never a true straight line. It's always kind of like a wavy, curvy line.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, you know.
Why is that?
Well, because storms are not perfect. They're not only perfect circles. You know, they're moving in the jet stream, swooping up and down, and they're just, you know. I mean, we think water is fluid. Air is even more so, and it's air or wind that creates our waves. So the ocean just is a reflection of the wind that grips it.
Oh, so how are you able to forecast something that seems to be almost an unpredictable type of thing?
Well, you know, it is an art form, but the science now with WaveWatch 3, they can organize it.
What is WaveWatch 3?
WaveWatch 3 is, you know, it's a government produced, you know, from satellites, and it's all scientific based models that forecast our waves, and they do it for military reasons, but it's, you know, public information. But yeah, Todd, it's the storms, you know, they have these ASCAT wind, actually take pictures of the heights of seas and the winds, and so they can actually verify whether the model's fantasies are coming true or not, and they can get patches of fetches, and then they can make a more accurate forecast from there.
Explain what a fetch is.
A fetch is the distance over which winds go in one direction and pointing preferably right at us from thousands of miles away.
So the waves are going to travel basically the direction of the wind? The main
Yeah, exactly.
So the barometric pressure is also affecting the fetch also?
Yeah, like a lot of people don't realize, but if you have a low or a storm, and that's wind, say, up in the North Pac moving counterclockwise, and if you have a big high right next to it, the high is going clockwise winds, and in between them, you actually can create a more organized batch of winds in between a high and a low.
It's like a wind tunnel almost.
Yeah, like they're feeding into each other, you know? Two circles spinning, and they meet, those winds that meet in the middle make the winds more consistent, and can actually help a fetch. And a lot of people overlook the next door high pressures but then again, sometimes highs and lows can compete against each other too, and actually be a detriment.
Knock each other down.
Yeah.
So what is the explain the buoys?
Well, buoys
Around
just pick
Hawaii.
up like about 5 things. You know, wind speed.
But where are they?
Direction.
Where are they?
Oh, they're all they're all over. You can go to surfnewsnetwork.com and check it out. No, they're
Gary's website.
National.
How many hits do you get? 27,000 hits.
No, 15 to 20,000
hits a day.
unique hits a day.
So
People.
So explain about the different buoys.
Well, the buoys are they pick up direction of the swell, the height of the swell, the period of the swell, water temperature, air temperature. They're picking up stuff, you know.
And they're how many miles away?
Well, they all range.
The
like
ones that interest us.
Well, the Northwest buoy, what is that like? They've changed them. A few hours off, you know, like 260 miles. Todd, you might know. I haven't reviewed the changes, and there's even Lanai. There's some new buoys, and there's that new one right off of Jaws or Piahi. You know,
Right out there on the north of that, right?
right, and it's not that far off the coast. Now, what we actually, you know, it's not bad when you get them further off the coast because you get a little bit more time to predict, you know, and so. For example, the Northwest buoy, if that gets hit with an 18-second swell, it's going to be here in about 8 hours. So you can work out the math and get exactly. But on the National Weather Service page, they have exactly how far, all the details, how far it is.
I remember. Go ahead.
Well, I've always, been super interested in the buoys because I pretty much run my whole entire surf schedule around that information because it seems to be that's the most reliable forecast. And because it's given an exact measurement and time period between each and every single wave. And when you have a normal forecast, you're trying to predict, and it may or may not actually be that, but you're pretty much on the money with the buoys. Am I right?
Yeah, well, buoys are an actual, observation. They're an actual measurement of open ocean swell and all that data. And then what happens is, let's say you do get let's just say a more average, winter swell, like say 10 feet open ocean at 17 seconds. And let's say it's a west-northwest, So pipe and sunset are minimum going to be 8 to 12, possibly even maybe the occasional feathering on the outer reefs on that kind of reading. And so you got to learn to extrapolate. Okay, I've seen this before. 10 feet open ocean, 17 seconds. Storm 2,000 miles away. It's going to get here at this time, and it should be hitting the top zones of maximum refraction or the focal reefs.
What's the refraction?
And refraction is when the energy of the wave bends around
when it bends, does it speed up?
It speeds up. So as a wave, the bend speeds up, but as the open ocean swell hits the reef, it actually slows it down, so the top starts speeding, but the side of the swell will wrap into it. So like say at Pipeline, you got that thing hitting, the water's starting to slow down out there, and the waves are starting to jack up, but the left side of it can break and speed up.
Yeah, like a Bernoulli. I think about from flying, the Bernoulli effect, But what causes the wave to slow down as it's about to...
At the bottom of the ocean.
It's just dragging.
What do they call it? Bathymetry? The topography of the bottom of the ocean. That's, Todd, what you were bringing up is like the best measurement is using an eyeball when you get up that morning and look at it, right? You got to look at it. But you pretty much know what's the difference. Let's say it's either going to be 8 to 12, but let's say occasional 15. But sometimes we're wrong. Like sometimes north swells, since they're generated closer by a lot of times, those can be undercalled.
Well, let me ask you a question. I was with Archie Kalepa the day after Christmas about 7 years ago, I think it was. It was the day...
Oh, yeah, that's a big day you had, yeah.
It was the day before the first tow-in contest in Maui at Jaws. And I remember the intervals were like over 50 seconds, and I go, Archie, you ever heard of that before? And he said,
it wouldn't be 50 seconds.
I could tell you this, it was bigger than he could ever remember hearing. But wow. 50 seconds seemed like out of control. So that couldn't, something wasn't right.
Yeah.
Hey, Mr. Woznick.
What did I do this time?
I gotta go feed baby. So
hey, say hi
to everybody on the phone.
Wait, we want to say hi to Lilo. Bring Lilo to the phone.
Hi.
Hi, Lilo.
She says, all right. Okay,
all right.
Hey, Todd, we were at the recording studio where they did Lilo and Stitch yesterday.
Okay, all right.
Bye, Lilo. Aloha.
I gotta get out of here. Okay, aloha.
See you Sunday morning. Stand up.
So how old is Lilo?
She is about a year and a half
now.
And you know what? He said that they wanted to name her after me, but only if I would change my name to Lilo.
Oh God! Right on.
At first, I was feeling kind of honored.
Is that his first child?
Yeah.
Oh, he's stoked, man. There's nothing like my daughter's 20. Chelsea Kamalani Kewley. She's up in the San Francisco area.
What does Kamalani mean?
Means it does. It means like heavenly, gifted,
rain
or something.
I don't know.
No, not rain, but
my daughter's coming here on Tuesday from Santa Fe.
All right on.
Fawn or Naomi.
Yeah, we're gonna have a blast when she comes.
She's an artist.
All right.
She hasn't been out here in a long time.
So you guys can hear the wind in the background so far.
Oh, is that the wind?
Yeah. So the people and I had someone call me from New Jersey about 2 days ago.
That's Waikiki.
Well, actually from Staten Island, and she just goes, "What's the weather look like? Tell me what the waves look like." So we'll kind of let the trade winds blow in the background a little bit and give everybody.
Oh, it's nice. I mean, it's all about that atmosphere.
How did you get started with Surf News Network? I mean, I know you don't want to talk too much about it, but
oh well, Joe Teipel was doing some tourist thing, and they were looking for a director to help them out, and I came over here and I was a camp counselor for Camp Mokuleia back in the late 70s.
Oh, you're kidding!
Oh,
no,
no.
A house up that
Dude, it was just the best. Still to this day, my Camp Mokuleia experiences are timeless, and still the people I'd say about. I'm in touch and great friends, best of friends with a half a dozen people still going back umpteen years.
The counselors or the kids or everyone?
Kids and mostly the counselors.
Wow.
It's quite. You want to talk about pushing your limits, man. You're working 18 hours a day for 6 to 8 weeks.
What is Camp Mokuleia?
Oh, Camp Mokuleia is awesome. It was Episcopalian church out there. It's open to the public, but all the schools would come through too for like a week at a time and do outdoor education.
Yeah, it was the science week.
Yeah, and I was a program director. Yeah. In fact, I replaced Marion Lyman Mercereau.
So your probation officer didn't mind you doing that?
No, didn't mind.
I'm just kidding, everybody.
No, but she was on the first voyage, first female ever to go from here down to Tahiti on the Hokulea. Oh, she was on the voyage that Eddie Aikau passed away on. And so that voyage in 1978 was unsuccessful. She wanted to go again. They knew me from the Camp Mokuleia days of being a senior counselor, and I came in and took her place, and that's why I moved here. If Eddie Aikau would not have given his life on the Hokulea, I would never have moved here.
You came here to take her place at the camp?
At the camp. She was the program director. She wanted to go on the voyage, and I came over and replaced her.
Eddie, the ultimate sacrifice.
The ultimate sacrifice.
There's no greater love than to lay down your life for your friends.
Yeah. And he did, and it's a trip to think that somehow my destiny was intertwined with this hero. And I told my daughter Chelsea, and I said, you would not have been born.
It's like
because Eddie, if that storm hadn't come, they would have been successful. Marion wouldn't need it. That's brutal. A lot of people don't want to go on a second tour,
After that,
so. And I would have just ended up being a camp counselor. I would have never needed to replace her, and I would have never moved over here, met my future ex-wife, and have my baby. We're best of friends, by the way. Yeah. Rena, I love you. She's the best. She's my best friend.
That's cool.
So is my daughter. And actually Chelsea's coming here June 2nd to get her ACL worked on.
It's like the wake of I know. Here's something interesting. When you're surfing, it's different than when you stand-up paddle. And when I started stand-up paddling, it was the first time I started noticing more the nuance in the water. For example, a canoe going by, an outrigger canoe surfing by you. On a surfboard and you're paddling, you're laying down, you don't really feel the bump, the wake off of that canoe. But when you stand up paddling, you feel even the little bump of a surfboard coming by. And that rivulet, that wave, that wake that Eddie left.
Oh, well put.
Set channels in motion, waves in motion.
And
in your life.
Completely affected my life and my career. Because, think about it. My God, my passion for surfing, but I would have never planned to make my living off of doing surf reports.
And you are living.
Yeah. And it's a trip, And then I find out, this is about 20 years ago, I found out, and I didn't know this, but my grandfather was married about 5 times. And he was this multimillionaire guy, and I never met him. He was kind of like a paranoid guy. He lived in Coronado, which is in off of San Diego.
Kind of a rich part of San Diego, isn't it?
Yeah, and he was married like 5 times. Well, one of his sons is none other than Greg Knoll.
No kidding.
So Greg Knoll's my uncle, and I had never met him. I never even knew this, but my grandmother, Mutto, we called her, said, "You know what? You have an uncle who's a big famous surfer." And I go, "Really? Who?" And, Greg Knoll. I said, "What? Mutto? You got to be kidding!" And then I find out from my mom years later that she partied with Hilo Hatties at Wind and Sea with the first clubs and surf teams.
The first Wind and Sea surf clubs.
Explain to the audience who Hilo Hattie.
Hilo Hattie. Says, well, I don't know a lot about Hilo Hattie, but just a legendary figure in the, it became, I don't know, there's no more legends in our sport.
Let's give a shout out to Oscar and all the guys at Wind and Sea, all the men and women of Wind and Sea Surf Club right now.
Well, and I love it. It's one of my favorite places. I love Simmons Reef.
Isn't that a great place, Wind and Sea?
Wind and Sea's got the mana.
It's a beautiful place.
I go, Mom, you got to be kidding me, And still to this day, she'll see some guys, they all became doctors or lawyers or successful businessmen, and they give her a hug and they said, "How's my surfer girl?" So my mom was a surfer girl before Surfer Girls was. This is in the 40s.
Yeah, when there were no surfer girls.
Before Gidget.
Yeah, yeah. But here's the thing, I didn't choose this path consciously.
And you did because you followed a passion, and that passion led you to this.
Yeah, but still, it had to be a gift.
It is.
It really has just been a gift mostly, and.
But you would have never. You would have. It's like. Yes, it of course is a gift, and it is a blessing, but because you were being true to yourself, you were in a position to receive it. I think the most radical thing someone can do is be true to themselves. If you look way deep down inside and really understand who you really are, what you really want, that's probably planted by God. And so there's this partnership that takes place when you're really true to yourself. You got a partner helping you, and that's God, to kind of help these things come to pass.
Yeah, I definitely.
So you had like a Godcident, but it wasn't just a coincidence that these things happen.
Well, and so, I speak with the Bull, or, Greg Nolan. He's going, "Oh my God," and he's telling me, "You're just like, so and so, and part of on his side of the family that I've never met." He's going, "You make this. You look like so and so, and you tell jokes like so and so, and you cuss like so." I have a tendency to have a foul mouth, and I don't know why. And then it's pretty crazy.
When I saw Running Giants, Greg Noll was cussing like crazy. They had to beat everything.
I'm not kidding. It's like, and then I love my adrenaline rushes, and I would have liked to have ridden a lot more and a lot bigger waves, but I was drawn to. I have my two big claims to fame. I'll tell you right now in surfing are surviving 2 days. One in particular, which was a closeout wave. It was like a 15, 20, 25-foot day in the evening.
Tell us in faces.
Local scale. So
faces 30,
35.
40 feet.
Yeah, big.
Big people in Iowa, remember.
Dozen guys out. Not very many takers. And this was back in the 80s, like 1986 or something. And this rogue set came in.
Where were you?
Waimea. And everybody lost. When this set came in, since I'm actually very scared of big waves and big water and drowning and blah, blah. So I'm like everybody else, man. I think I'm more vigilant and hyper vigilant than the rest of the pack. And I saw this thing, and I paddled out to the middle of the bay before everybody. I was way out past everybody, and it still broke across the entire bay. Closed out. It was one of the most beautiful.
Closed out in front of you?
It was one of the most awesome, scary, and beautiful all at the same time. It closed out in front of me, like 20 feet in front of me. And when
you're in the worst possible.
Yeah, no, because check this out. I had a 20-foot leash on. It didn't break. I went down. I must have swam down 20 feet. It was pitch black when that thing crawled over, and it whipped me around. I was praying to God. I was going, God, I know you and I haven't had a talk in a long time, but if you get me out of this, I'm going to talk to you a lot more. And I pop
There's
up.
There's no atheists at Waimea.
Dude, no. And I was just screaming at the top of the lungs. I was so pumped when I realized the second wave wasn't going to break, and that we were safe, and that was just a rogue set. And one other guy, but everybody else, the Fosters, Eddie Rothman, there's all these guys, all lost their board, all sent swimming in, and we're going, okay, dude, we're like high-fiving each other. Now let's get the hell out of here.
Yeah.
I was high. Well, first of all, I was pumped for 4 or 5 hours. I remember going like, it's like 11 o'clock at night. I can't sleep. I'm still like, what? But I still felt high, or maybe it went from the dopamine to serotonin, but even 3 days later. But check this out.
Nothing more refreshing than dodging a bullet.
My what do you call validation came when one of my idols, Al Chapman, who did not come out that day, and this was, it was big, dude. I shouldn't have been out there. I would not have gone out, by the way, just so you know. I wasn't seeking this experience. He was on the beach. He goes, dude, that wave was 55 feet in the face. Because, you don't know how big it is, and you're just going, if Al Chapman, you said it was that big, then, dude, and thank you, God, because that is a big wave, dude. That is over, and I lived, and it hit me first. I saw it, and I still couldn't get out past it. But anyway, that's my
Are you a different
claim to
man
fame.
because of it?
Yeah, like God actually does love you, and He can save you, because I was totally in His hands. You don't know whether. See, remember when I was telling you about Waimea earlier in the podcast, where that one wave let me go, and then the one wave destroyed me.
Right.
So much of it is just luck. Like all that white water, some of the water is vortexing and converging in on itself, and other parts are almost like air. Like
it's
bubbles,
like a tornado.
like bubbles.
Some people get killed, and the next person nothing.
I just happened to be in a safe place, even though I got worked 20 feet down. I popped up, and I survived. And another big day was out by myself, and it closed out. Not quite as big as this one, but big enough to close it out in the 80s by myself. After the sun went down, it was almost dark.
No.
And my buddy called the fire truck, so they showed up. Somebody, when I was heading out by myself, I actually gave them my name. They wrote it down just in case I didn't make it. And but I did. I made it in on that day too. So those are my two godsends or claim to fame, that just surviving, not surfing, and not being brave, just surviving, have been my biggest claim to fame.
In the midst of that, though, I think when something like that imparts something to you. It imparted something in you that's changed forever.
Totally rewarding. Like, well, there is grace. You do have, you can say that now for the rest of my life, because it won't. I'm not going to let it happen again, right? That you have faced. Most people will not face closed out Waimea.
Yeah.
And then again, this is a long time ago, and what guys are doing now, it just makes what we were going through look silly. But
no,
still,
don't say that. No, because when jet ski tow-in is unbelievably gnarly, and chopu and all of that. But the thing is you don't have a vest on, and you don't have a jet ski there waiting to pick you up, and nobody around. And see, remember that old. I think in big surf now it's different. I think with jet skis, but. We used to have the saying, I think it came from the film Big Wednesday, when you're surfing big surf, you're always alone.
Whoa.
Because when you're in trouble, no one's going to get to you. I mean, you're going to be in trouble for a long time.
You can't,
it's just you and your...
You have to look at it like that. You're right. Mike Parsons and a bunch of the boys, out of the Cortez Banks were going, you have to plan to handle everything. Birthday. You have to plan on surviving everything on your own. Do not count on anybody seeing you or being able to get to you. Do not count on it.
Right.
And then, in the moment, they come and you're saved.
That's why, when you jump out of an airplane, it's mostly, frankly, about gear and remembering one thing, pull the ripcord. I mean, it's a gnarly thing. But in the ocean, it's about your savvy, your skill, your athleticism, luck.
But just also, what it is like, going back to what we're talking about, is I'm proud that I once had the desire to even be a part of it. Just to be a part of the ocean when it can be life-threatening, and that there's a big reward in life-threatening circumstance. And I think guys...
What is that?
I think some primitive impulse inside of us, that it enlivens you in a way. If you're doing a sport that has no danger whatsoever, no risk to your health, like
bowling
or tennis or stuff like that, you add in the nature can kill you, and that's part of your challenging nature, like the snowboarding, the skiing, the free diving. There's all kinds of sports where where you can die. And that I think it triggers a high that can't be triggered elsewhere.
Because your wits have to be about you. You have to be focused on the moment.
Life and death.
Yeah.
Man, that you want to talk about purifying conscious. For example, like
That's Zen.
like now Lance Armstrong had to go. He has to go 6 hours before. I don't know what he has to do before he achieves 6 hours of grueling bike riding before he achieves that purity of consciousness. Whereas, you know, as a surfer, in those moments, I got to achieve it in like 10 seconds.
Right.
You know, no, and it lasted quite a while too. But you know, I'm just
No, but it stays
I'm just
with
kidding.
you. Those moments of living in the now, those moments of perfect Zen, they never go away. But we spend our lives having experienced that. We spend our lives coming back to that. It's like the search of the Holy Grail. It's like you've experienced that, and there's the invitation to experience it again. But as we progress in life, we experience it in different ways.
I think so, and it's funny because Larry Bertlemann, which is one of the legendary high-performance guys, he led the high-performance shortboard revolution back in the 70s. He was the guy who inspired high-performance shortboard. He was the rubber man. Larry Bertlemann.
Who did he used to surf for?
Oh, I don't remember what team.
I think I used to have one of his
Dude, he was
models.
The guy was a freak, and he just said, you know, I forget what it was. You know, is that you spend. You get when you first learn how to surf and you're young, you know, you're in your early teens and you're surfing through those years and you're getting this incredible, you get that incredible high from a particular wave or a particular session, and you spend the rest of your life trying to get that same feeling back. Mm-hmm. And it's now there's the Zen aspect, I think, but I think what he was talking about was just the simple adrenaline rush of youth. Mm-hmm. You know, man,
but
there's nothing. It just can't be replaced.
That's the search for the Holy Grail. That's seeing the Holy Grail in your youth and spending the rest of your life.
Stay young, keep your wheels in motion. Have you ever heard that song?
No, but sing a little bit more. We're gonna fade out with that, and you could bring up.
Oh, the best things in life are free. It's Free Ride.
Come on, sing it,
dude. You know what?
Play it, Shane.
If you can find it and put it into this podcast,
I'll do it right now.
At the end, it's Honk. It's from the movie from Free Ride, and it's Stay Young, and it's such a killer song. Because I'm too self-conscious, I'm not gonna be able to sing it. Do you have it?
I'm getting.
He'll pull it up.
And it shows these guys just surfing back.
It's called Honk?
Yeah, from it was 1976 when the song was written.
And it's called Free Ride.
And it's called Free Ride.
I would go Honk. I would go Honk. I would go HONK, Free Ride, and then space HONK, I think. Might find it. We'll see what we come up with. Put Free Ride inside quotes. I think put Free Ride inside
Free
quotes.
Ride song. Free Ride.
Why, do you have it on your
Stay
iPod?
Young.
It's from the movie, right?
Yeah, from the movie.
Yeah, okay.
You got it? And
Free Ride surf movie. But can you put Free Ride inside of quotes?
Well, isn't Free Ride a motorcycle movie?
No, Free Ride is a surf movie.
Oh, okay.
Put it inside quotes. Free quote, Free Ride quote, and then honk. That might get it for you. You can try to find it on iTunes, but we'd have to download that instead of a YouTube thing. Yeah, we love the internet. Free Ride by Honk. Is that it? No, that's someone else.
Someone else.
All right, we're gonna try to find that.
And then you can you splice it into the podcast?
Yeah, I'm putting it in right now.
Oh, he's got it.
Find it.
Oh, okay.
If it's a surfing movie, it might be a little harder to find.
Put it inside of quotes and say surf and say honk.
The movie is Stay Young.
Okay, honk and then say stay young.
Stay young, keep your wheels in motion. Type in Stay Young, keep your wheels in motion.
I love that. Wheels inside of wheels. STAY and then YONG. Okay, let's see what happens.
This might be it. No, that's not it.
Okay, well, you might find it later, Shane, and throw it in.
Find the song "Stay Young, Keep Your Wheels in Motion."
Nope.
Just Stay Young, Free Ride.
That's it, right here. You found it.
Let's roll, Shane.
Well, turn that puppy up, dude.
Free Ride.
You got
Stay
it.
Young. Gallagher and Lyle,
That's
1976.
It. This is it.
Pump up the volume.
Oh, I can't believe you've got it.
Is that from the
This
movie?
is it. Turn it up. Oh, don't you lose that light in your eyes. You're never too old to love, never too late to try. If somebody loves you, give them all you can give. Because when you're living to love, you're loving to live.
Love it.
1976.
Stay young, keep your wheels in motion. You got everything that you need. All the best things in life are free.
It's true.
What's that sound I'm hearing? Is that going to come out like that?
That's from the YouTube video.
It's the way it was recorded.
That's from the YouTube video. Yeah.
Well, you guys can find a better version of it out there, but we want to say aloha to Gary Kewley of surfnewsnetwork.com.
Aloha, thanks for being here, and thanks, Bear, for having me, man. This was a blast. You're right, it went by a long time. Thank you, Shane.
I hope you're coming back again.
Yeah.
We just barely scratched the surface.
Yeah.
Let's let it roll, Shane. With the
Okay, everybody,
with the
thanks for
tiki
coming.
drums.
Remember to check out Surf News Network
Let the tiki drums roll.
and Alpha Brain on it.com. ONNIT.com.
Stay young, keep your wheels in motion. You got everything that you need. Stay young if you're rock and rolling. All the best things in life are free. Stay young, keep your wheels in motion. You got everything that you need. Stay young with your rock and rollin'. All the best things in life are free.
Put the Yahweh!